Hello, this is Professor Marsh, and this is Accounting 220 at Newberry College, and this is the homework assignment for Chapter 5. So this is my suggested answers for the homework, and so let's go ahead and take a look at exercise set A in Chapter 5, and we were assigned the following problems, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5, number 7, number 9, number 11, number 14, number 15, number 17, and number 19. So this is process costing, and this is the homework for process costing. So the first question was, how many units were started into production in a period if there were 0 units of beginning work in process inventory, 1,100 units in ending work in process inventory, and 21,500 completed and transferred out units? Well, we know there are 21,500 completed and transferred out units, and there are 1,100 units in ending work in process inventory. And since we have a 0 in beginning work in process inventory, then there must have been 22,600 units started into production during that period. So just add work in process and completed and transferred out, subtract beginning inventory, which is 0, and that's your answer. Number 2, a company started a new product and in the first month started 100,000 units. The ending work in process inventory was 20,000 units that were 100% complete with materials and 75% complete with conversion costs. There were 100,000 units to account for, and the equivalent units for materials was $6 per unit, while the equivalent units for conversion was $8 per unit. What is the value of inventory transferred out using the weighted average inventory method? Well, this is another problem that comes to us from the first section of Chapter 5. And we're told the company started a new product, and the first month started 100,000 units. And so we've got, obviously, we've got 100,000 units to account for, so that there was no beginning inventory, no beginning work in process inventory. So we had we're going to have to calculate the value of inventory transferred out using the weighted average inventory method. So your ending units are 20,000 units, and you've got $6 of materials in them, and you've got $8 times 0.75 in conversion costs, and so your ending work in process inventory is worth 120,000 for materials, 120,000 for conversion costs, 240,000 total. That's not what we were asked, although I did see that answer a couple of times. But what was transferred out was finished units. So if the inventory transferred out to the next department was transferred out, then it must have been complete as to both materials and conversion costs. And so that's 80,000 units, the 100,000 that we have to account for minus the 20,000 work in process at the end. And that 80,000 times $6 for materials is 480,000. 80,000 times $8 for conversion costs is 640,000. When you add those two numbers together, you have $1,120,000, and that was the value of the inventory transferred out using the weighted average inventory method. So that's that. So it's kind of a trick question because it asked you for weighted average, but then you didn't have to do a weighted average calculation because the weighted average was in the ending work in process. For number 3, given the following information, determine the equivalent units of ending work in process for materials and conversion under the weighted average method. A beginning inventory of 2,500 units, that's 100% complete with regard to materials, 60% complete with regard to conversion. 18,000 units were started during the period, 17,000 units were completed and transferred. The ending inventory is 100% complete with materials and 65% complete with conversion costs. So here we have to set up our chart, and what we've got is we have equivalent units of ending work in process for materials and conversion of the weighted average method. So beginning inventory 2,500, and then 18,000 units started. So that's 20,500 units to account for. And we had 17,500 transferred to finished goods. And so we've got 3,000 work in process ending. And we're told that they're 100% complete as to materials. So that is the equivalent units with respect to materials. They're 65% complete with respect to conversion costs. So if you take the 3,000 ending work in process inventory multiplied by 65%, you have 1,950 equivalent units based on conversion costs in your ending work in process inventory. So 1,950 in equivalent units based on conversion cost. Okay. That's our first question based on section 3 of the chapter. Then question 5, a company has 1,500 units in ending work in process that are 30% complete after transferring out 10,000 units. All materials are added at the beginning of the process. If the cost per unit is $4 for materials and $7 for conversion, what is the cost of units transferred out in an ending work in process inventory using the weighted average method? And so we've got, I did 3 categories. I did units, or 3 columns. Units, direct material, 100%, conversion costs, 30%. We had transferred out 10,000 units, ending work in process, 1,500 units. So the equivalent units for direct materials were 1,500 because they said all the materials are added at the beginning of the production process. Conversion costs, those 1,500 units are only 30% complete with conversion costs, so that's 450 equivalent units for conversion costs. So the let's see, conversion, the cost of units transferred out, that's 10,000 times $4 for direct materials, plus 10,000 times $7 for conversion costs, total of $11 times 10,000. So it's 110,000 is the answer for the costs transferred out. Ending work in process is 1,500 times $4, which equals 6,000, and 450 times 7, which equals 3,150. Add the two together, you got 9,150 as the ending work in process costs for the work in process inventory. Okay, number 7. How much units must be in ending inventory if beginning inventory was 15,000, 55,000 units were started, and 57,000 units were completed and transferred out? Well, I hope you could do this one in your head. The answer is 13,000. And there we go. It's 15,000 plus 55,000. Those are the goods to account for. 57,000 were transferred out. And so we've got 13,000 left over. And I don't know why I put a dollar sign in front of my 13,000, because it's 13,000 units. So I'll post my homework as I have for other chapters too, so you can take a look at how I wrote it out. My handwriting's not as neat as it was. I did this rather late at night. So number 9, beginning inventory. Using the weighted average cost method Compute the equivalent units of production if the beginning inventory consisted of 20,000 units, 55,000 units were started in production, and 57,000 units were completed and transferred to finished goods inventory. Well, here we are with the 55 in and 57 out again. For this process, materials are added at the beginning of the process, and the units are 35% complete with respect to conversion costs. So how I set this up was beginning inventory in units, 20,000 plus 55,000 started minus 57,000 transferred out. Ending units in work in process inventory was then 18,000 units. They're 35% complete, and so the equivalent units are 6,300. And so the question is, compute the equivalent units of production if the beginning inventory, so we've got units transferred out of 57,000 units. The ending units are 6,300, and that gives us a total of 63,300, accounting for all of the units. So that's and let's go on to number 11. Number 11, Mazamani farm completed 20,000 units during the quarter, has 2,500 units still in process. Units are 100% complete with regard to materials and 55% complete with regard to conversion costs. What are the equivalent units for materials and conversion? So I took the 20,000 units that were completed and transferred out, added the work in process inventory at the end. We've got 22,500 units. The equivalent units we've got for direct materials, they're 100% complete, so we've got 22,500. For conversion costs, we had 20,000 transferred out. If we multiply 2,500 times 55%, we get 1,375, and so if you add those two numbers together, you get 21,375. And that's the equivalent units for conversion. Number 14, a production department within a company. Now we're going on learning objective number 4. Production department within a company received materials of 10,000 and conversion costs of 10,000 from a prior department. It added materials of 27,200 and conversion costs of 53,000. And what is the unit cost for materials and conversion? So transferred in, we have 10,000 for direct materials. Into stage 2, direct materials, we're adding 27,000. We've got 37,000 in total costs divided by 20,000 equivalent units for direct materials because they're 100% complete now at the end of this stage in the production. And when you do the division, you get $1.85 per equivalent unit. On conversion costs, you've got 10,000 transferred in costs. You've got 53,000 added conversion costs. That's 63,000. Your equivalent units are 18,000, and that's because your work in process is only 35% complete. So I'm sorry, no, not 35% complete. But they're given that the equivalent units are 18,000. That's why it's 18,000. I'm trying to do the next problem. So 63,000 divided by 18,000 gives you $3.50 per equivalent unit So that's the unit cost per equivalent unit, $3.50 for conversion costs. For number 15, the inventory that was transferred out is let's read the problem. Production data shows 35,920 units were transferred out of a stage of production. 6,150 units remain in ending work in process inventory that was 100% complete to materials and 35% complete to conversion. Unit cost $5 for material, $8 for conversion. What's the amount of inventory transferred out and remaining and ending work in process inventory? So here we've got kind of a weird one. So we've transferred out complete units of 35,920. So we do the distributive math and multiply that by $5 for materials and $8 for labor, and we end up with 466,960 for the inventory transferred out. The ending inventory, we end up with 6,150 units at $5 for direct materials, but then for the conversion costs, our equivalent units are kind of a weird number. 35% of 6,150 is 2,152.5 units. So our equivalent units, we ended up with a half unit. We multiply that by $8, and we have 17,220 for conversion costs. So our the total costs that are in ending work in process are the sum of 30,750 plus 17,220. That equals 47,970. That's the answer to number 15. I hope you got the same thing I did. If you didn't and you think you're right, please contact me. But that's it for the Chapter 5 homework. Good luck studying for your tests, and have a great day. Bye-bye.